Hello and welcome to Gefet in the Daf. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you together with Hadran and Yeshivat Drisha, learning Rishonim on your Daf Yomi. And here we're learning Masechet Nazir. We will be not using Rashi and Tosfot today, but we will be learning Be'ezrat Hashem Rosh and Natziv today. So Rosh has a perush here in Masechet Nazir, and then Natziv, which is much further on, one of the Achronim, very famous Acharon. He has a perush of Masechet Nazir, and that's what we will be learning today in Daf Lamed Bet. So I just want to say I'm sorry I wasn't here for the last 2 weeks. I lost my voice, and I'm very glad, Baruch Hashem, I have my voice back. So I'll be very happy to learn with you this Gefet today. And also, two very special things are happening today. We're learning Gemara, but we're going to really learn Tanakh according to the Rishonim, the Rosh, and the Nativ. And also, I think we'll also reach interesting philosophical understandings about how a Jewish person, should conduct himself when he's facing a very serious chance of a disaster. So let's begin. We're talking about the Mishnah and Daf Lamed Bet, Amud Aleph and Amud Bet. The Mishnah starts from one description of a situation of Nezirut B'ta'ut, and then continues to a very, very different example. Let's begin with the first example of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, מי שנדר בנזיר והלך להביט בהמתו מצא שנגנבה. אם עד שלא נגנבה בהמתו נזר, זה נזיר, ואם מי שנגנבה בהמתו נזר, אינו נזיר, וזו טעות. Says the Mishnah, sometimes when somebody is being nozer, the nether will not take place because there was a mistake. What kind of mistake can there be? If I said I'm a Nazir and I was thinking that I have a korban to bring in my stable, and the truth is that this korban has been stolen, so it makes a very big difference when was the korban stolen. If it was stolen before I made my nether, it means that what I had in my mind and the reality were totally different. So that's why there was a mistake here, and the nether is not chal. But if at the time of the nether, I thought that I have a korban, and the korban was still there in the stable, it was only stolen an hour later. Excuse me. In that situation, it is true that now something surprising happened. And if I would have known that I would be facing this situation, maybe I would not have been nozer in the first place. But that's not enough to say that my nether is not chal, because at the point of the nether, the reality was in correlation with my mind, and this is no doubt. And there is no reason to be retroactively saying that a nether is not chal if something surprising happened. True, stealing of the behema is a surprise. If you knew in advance it's going to happen, if you would have known the future, maybe you would not be noted, but still, it was a surprise. And nola, the surprise is not enough to say that your nether is not chal. The Mishnah continues to a very different situation, not a stealing of a korban, but the destruction of the temple, and brings a machloket between Nachum Hamadi and Chachamim. Let's read the Sefer of the Mishnah. טען נחום המדי, כשעלו נזירים מן הגולה ומצאו בית המקדש חרב, אמר להם נחום המדי, אילו הייתם יודעים שבית המקדש חרב, הייתם נוזרים? אמרו לו לא, והתירן. וכשבא הדבר אצל חכמים, אמרו לו, כל שנזר עד שלא חרב בית המקדש נזיר, משחרב בית המקדש אינו נזיר. So we see a machloket between Chachamim and Nachum Hamadi. Nachum Hamadi, first of all, let's look at the situation. It's a very, very, very tragic situation, and it happens many times in the Mishnah and in the Gemara that the Mishnah and the Gemara talks about tragedies, but in a very side effect way. Instead of looking at the tragedy in the face, it's dealing with all kinds of halachic repercussions around it. I don't know if this means that they didn't think that Bet HaMikdash, the destruction of Bet HaMikdash was so horrible. Obviously, they did think so. There's something about referring to the Churban of Bet HaMikdash as a side effect, only as something that causes an interesting question in halacha that might even create the heartache on the Bet HaMikdash to become stronger and not lower. It's just a very interesting thing to notice here, that this Bet HaMikdash is only like something in the background to talk about Nezirut. And anyway, let's look what's written here in the Mishnah. There's a machloket here, right? Chachamim say it doesn't matter if it's a stealing of a behema or if it's a churban of Bet HaMikdash. We use the same rules. If Bet HaMikdash was already destroyed, then the nether it's not chal. But if at the time of the neder Beit HaMikdash was still up, the neder is chal. Let's use a better way to explain this. If I said that I'm a Nazir at Zayin Av, the temple is still up. It's going to be down in 48 hours. Still, I'm a Nazir. Why? Because at the time of the neder, Beit HaMikdash was still there. But if I made my neder in the Aleph Av, Beit HaMikdash is already destroyed, then my neder is not chal. That's what Chachamim say. Nachum Hamadi obviously thinks differently, because Nachum Hamadi asked his Nazirim, were you aware that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed so soon? If you would have known that this was a situation, would you be no there? And then they tell him no, and he's being matir him. So what does Nachum Hamadi think? We have two different ways of explaining Nachum Hamadi. One is Rabbah in the beginning of the sugya, and another is Rav Yosef. Let's start with Rabbah. Rabbah says, Amar Rabbah, Shatfu Rabbanan Rabbi Eliezer v'hukma b'shitatai d'tnan, potchim b'nolad divrei Rabbi Eliezer v'chachamim osir. Rabbah claims that the machloket between Chachamim and Nachum Hamadi is the same machloket between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim. What is the machloket between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim? Do you potech b'nolad or no? Let's explain. Potech b'nolad means something that you did not expect happen. Is that a reason to say, if you would have known this in advance, maybe you would not be noder? According to Rabbi Eliezer, that's a good reason to change the neder and say this is a petach. Because if you would have known the future, you would not be noder. And the future, and the knowledge of the future does show us what was your original kavana. That's the shita of Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim say, no, nolad doesn't matter, only ta'ut. And you didn't know this, it doesn't matter. Because the reality at the time of the neder was that Beit HaMikdash was still in existence. So according to Rabbah, that's the machloket between Nachum Hamadi and Rabbi Eliezer. Nachum Hamadi is poteach benolad, like Rabbi Eliezer, and Chachamim are not potchim benolad. And what Rabbah says is that you should notice here in the Mishnah that this Mishnah proves that Rabbi Eliezer changed his mind and Rabbi Eliezer joined Chachamim in their psak that you're not poteach benolad and against Nachum Hamadi. The Rosh says, how does Rabbah learn this from the Mishnah? Explains the Rosh, שהרי רבי אליעזר היה בשעת החורבן, כדאית בפרק הנזקים שרבי אליעזר ורבי יהושע נשאו מיתתו של ריבז, נמצא שהיה באותו מניין שאמרו חכמים לנחום שת העדן, פותחים בנולד ולא אמר דבר, על מה שחזר מספרתו והודה לדברי חכמים. Says the Rosh, how did Rabbah learn this from the Mishnah? And he answers, Nachum Hamadi was at the time of the Churban. Chachamim were in the time of the Churban. Who are the Chachamim at the time of the Churban? Rabbi Eliezer was there at the time of the Churban. We know that from the Agadot of Churban Habayit, Rabbi Eliezer was there. There's a famous Agadah about how Ribaz was escaping Jerusalem and managed to find a way to create Yavne. And in that Agadah, Rabbi Eliezer is one of the people there. He's helping Ribaz escape from the city. So says the Rosh, when we read this Mishnah, that there's a machloket between Nachum Hamadi and Chachamim, if Rabbi Eliezer was still in machloket with Chachamim, he would have stand beside Nachum Hamadi, and he would say, Chachamim, it's not only Nachum Hamadi, I also think that these Nazirim are not Nazirim, and since he didn't say anything, that's a proof that Rabbi Eliezer changed his mind, and he agrees with Chachamim that you are not pasking petach benolad. That's the Meimar of Rabbah. But Rav Yosef understands a different way of the machloket. Rav Yosef says, Amar Rav Yosef, Ihavei hatam, Ava amina lehon, הכתיב היכל השם, היכל השם, היכל השם המה, זהו מקדש ראשון ומקדש שני. Okay, this is a little hard meimra. Let's look at the Rosh, how he explains it. Says the Rosh, Ihavei hatam. If I was there, says Rav Yosef, שאמרו חכמים לנחום דחורבן בית המקדש הווה נולד, if I was there in this dilemma, Nachum Hamadi said, these Nazirim are not Nazirim. Chachamim said, no, that's Nolad, and we're not Matir Nolad. Says Rav Yosef, I would have said, Hava Amina Lehu, Delav Nolad Hu, לפי שיודעים היו שעתיד בית המקדש לחרוב, דכתיב, היכל השם, היכל השם, זה מקדש ראשון ומקדש שני. Says Rav Yosef, maybe the machloket between Nachum Hamadi and Chachamim is whether or not this is Nolad at all. According to Chachamim, this is Nolad, because they didn't expect Beit HaMikdash to be destroyed. But Rav Yosef said, I think Nachum Hamadi is right. This is not Nolad. This is not Nolad because everybody knew that Beit HaMikdash is about to be destroyed. Everybody expected this. How do I know? Because there's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu that says, Echal Hashem, Echal Hashem, Hema. So Rav Yosef thinks that when we know a disaster is coming, especially if we have a nevuah that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, nobody can claim that he did not expect this. So therefore, Nachum Amadi is right. This is not nolad. This is really what they had in mind. Okay, we understand Rav Yosef now, but there's one problem. How does Rav Yosef understand the pasuk Echal Hashem Echal Hashem Hema? Let's look at the pasuk in the pshat, and we'll see that this pasuk doesn't say that Am Yisrael thought Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. Vice versa. This pasuk says that Am Yisrael was sure that Beit HaMikdash is going to be staying up forever. Let's look at the Navi. The Navi says in ירמיהו, הדבר אשר היה לירמיהו, מאת השם לאמור, אמוד בשער בית השם, וקראת שם את הדבר הזה. ואמרת שמעו דבר השם, כל יהודה הבאים בשערים האלה להשתחוות להשם, כה אמר השם צבאות, אלוהי ישראל. היטיבו דרככם ומעלליכם ישכנה אתכם במקום הזה. אל תפתחו לכם על דברי השקר, לאמור היכל השם, היכל השם, היכם השם, המה. According to the Pshat, it seems that Am Yisrael thought, היכל השם, היכל השם, Beit HaMikdash is going to stay up forever. And the Navi tells them, no, you should know, Beit HaMikdash is not foolproof. If you will not do tshuva, Beit HaMikdash will be destroyed. That's how the Radak and Yirmiyahu explains. And he says, Echal Hashem, Echal Hashem, Echal Hashem Hema, אלו דברי השקר, שאומרים להם נביאי השקר, המתאים אותם, לא יחריב הקדוש ברוך הוא היכלו בעבור העוון, ולא תחרב העיר הזו. So the Radak explains that the נביאי שקר told the Am, don't worry, God will never destroy his temple. God's temple is there forever. Even if you'll be very bad, Beit HaMikdash is foolproof. And the Navi comes to Am Yisrael and says, no, Beit HaMikdash is not foolproof. So according to the Pshat and the Radak, this pasuk is not a proof for Rav Yosef. This pasuk proves that Am Yisrael was sure that Beit HaMikdash will still be up. So Chachamim are right. This is not. Everybody thinks that it will never be destroyed, and now, big surprise, it's destroyed. So how come Rav Yosef is quoting a nevuah as proof for himself when the nevuah is actually against him on the side of Chachamim? The Rosh noticed this, and also other Rishonim and Achronim noticed it, and they worked very hard to show that Rav Yosef understood this pasuk differently, not like the Radak and not how we explained it in the Pshat. So, according to the Rosh, how did Rav Yosef understand this pasuk? Echal Hashem, Echal Hashem Hema. Let's see. Says the Rosh, ומפרש לי רבותינו, שהמוכיח את הרשעים שהיו מתייאשים מן הפורענות ואומרים, מחרב היכל השם עוד ייבנה לנו היכל בית שני, ומחרב אותו עוד יחרב לנו שלישי לימות המשיח. על מה היו יודעים שיחרב? So according to the Rosh, Rav Yosef reads the Navi differently. היכל השם, היכל השם Hema. That's not the lie that we thought that God will never destroy his temple. Hafuch. It's a lie totally opposite. What Am Yisrael thought, according to Rav Yosef, is that God will destroy the temple, but there's no reason to worry because he will build another one. And even when the second temple will be built, there's no reason to worry. There's going to be a third one. According to the Rosh, the sin of Am Yisrael was that they didn't take the Churban seriously because they thought, don't worry, in the end it's going to be okay. And then the Navi tells them, why are you dealing, why are you thinking this? Even one Churban is horrible. What difference does it make this is going to be another Beit Mikdash now? You have to look at the now, here and now. So that's how the Rosh offers to read Rav Yosef. So the Rosh helps us to understand how, according to Rav Yosef, this pasuk is saying that Am Yisrael thought that Beit HaMikdash is actually going to be destroyed. But in truth, the explanation of the Rosh is hard. Could it be that Am Yisrael really took into consideration that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed and said, oh, nicht gefährlich, no, we're going to have another one? I think that's a very hard way to read the Nevuah and to read Rav Yosef. And as you can see, the Netziv in the 19th century wrote Meromei Sadeh, and he offered a different explanation. I think because he was also bothered by the same question that the Rosh was bothered by, but didn't find his answer totally fulfilling. So let's see what the Netziv is offering. The Netziv says, פירוש, שמקובל היה להם שיחרב בית המקדש ראשון וגם שני, ואין נפקא מינה בהטבת מעשיהם. ועל זה השיב הנביא, שמכל מקום תלוי במעשיהם, אם יטיבו דרכיהם, ישכנו לבטח. הקבלה הזו היה כמו כל עניין ידיעה ובחירה. Says the Mormon Sadeh, I have to find a way to explain that this pasuk Echad Hashem means that Am Yisrael thought that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, and still that their understanding is a sin. So what does he explain? He says Am Yisrael heard this nevuah, and the nevuah says the first Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, the second Beit HaMikdash will be destroyed, and then the Am said, okay, so if there's a nevuah, what difference does it make if I do good or bad? Anyway, my deeds will not change anything. We know the history of Am Yisrael will be with two korbanot. So I shouldn't be doing tshuva. I'll just continue because nothing I do makes any difference. And the Navi told them, no, you don't understand. We have yedi'ah ubchira. There's a paradox in a Jewish man's life. Even though there's a gzera and we know that something can really, really go wrong, there's always a chance for us to change history. It depends on our deeds. So this is true. There is a gzera, there is a nevuah that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, but still that is not supposed to stop you from doing tshuva. And that's what the Navi is telling the Am. So let's read the sugya according to the Norme Sadeh. Rav Yosef says, if I was there, I would tell the Chamim, how can you say that these Nazirim were surprised that Beit HaMikdash was destroyed? They were not surprised. This is not Nolad. They knew that it's going to be destroyed because we know that everybody in the Am thought that the Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem. We know that the first temple is going to be destroyed, the second temple is going to be destroyed. So that's why it doesn't make a difference if we'll be doing tshuva or not. And the Nazirim thought the same thing. So how can the Nazirim now come and say, oh, we didn't think Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed? We have the Navi telling us that the truth is that everybody in Am Yisrael knew and thought that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. And then the Gemara answers, Rav Yosef, you don't understand. These Nazirim were tzaddikim. The Nazirim listened to what the Navi said, and they understood that even though there's a gzera, their deeds can change it. And that's why they really were not sure that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, because they really did tshuva. They really, really tried to change reality, even though there was a gzera. So, what did we learn here? First of all, we saw three different readings of this pasuk Echad Hashem, Echad Hashem. A reading of the Pshat, and according to the Radak, Echad Hashem, Echad Hashem means that Am Yisrael was sure that there won't be a Churban. And the Navi tells them, you don't understand. Churban can actually happen. That's according to the Radak and the Pshat. But reading the Gemara, it seems that Rav Yosef read this pasuk differently. And here we have two different explanations, one of the Rosh and one of the Netziv. The Rosh said that the chet of the Am was that they thought, even if there's going to be a Churban, if there's going to be another Beit HaMikdash, well, so there's going to be Churban. So what? The Netziv says, no. Their chet was that they were too sure there's going to be Churban, that they didn't believe that doing tshuva will make a difference. That was their chet. And that's the meaning of Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem. The Am thinks, Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem, there's going to be a Churban, then there's nothing we can do about it. And the Navi tells them, no, we can still change even the hardest gezerah. So, from these three readings, I want to just offer what the Netziv tells us to think about catastrophes. A catastrophe and a Churban is always a possibility. Every Churban is bad. Even if later we know everything's going to be okay at the end, still we need to work on now. Every Churban is bad. And good deeds can always change even the hardest gezerah. And that's holding the paradox of Yedi'ah v'Bchira. Even if we know and we see that we're going towards a catastrophe, we always need to work and try to do tshuva and change. So, today, we learned Daf Lamevin Masechet Nazir. We saw a very, very interesting Mishnah talking about the surprise or seemed surprise of the Churban of Beit HaMikdash, and we tried to understand what was the surprise. From learning the answers of the Rosh and the Netziv, we see that the surprise was dafka because the Nazirim were hoping and believing that their deeds can really change the reality of the Churban. And that is why, according to Chachamim, this is really a surprise, because they really, really believed in their ability to change. And I think that all of us should always remember that never be mityaesh from the tshuva. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I mean, the greatest catastrophe that we see we're going towards can be prevented if we will work with our deeds and do tshuva. Lo leityaesh me'atshuva. So Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope in this Chodesh Adar, and we can do tshuva me'ahava, nahafach zdonos lezchuyot, and come together in Chodesh Nisan and a big geula for all of Am Yisrael. Take care, and I hope to meet you next week.